Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do.
Okay, so James Comey went out beach combing and got himself into hot water. So he sent out this picture saying he found some shells arranged in an interesting formation, saying 8647. And the Republican Party and the Trump administration kind of just shrugged it off like normal, rational people. Oh, no, not actually. They didn't do that.
To FBI Director James Comey making a threatening post against Donald Trump tonight as the president is overseas. Fox's Peter Ducey is live from Abu Dhabi with all the details. My goodness, Peter.
And Laura, the real head scratcher about this very serious topic is that James Comey wants us to believe, and we have this photo here, that he saw a cool, these are his words, cool shell formation on my beach walk. And the cool shell formation, according to the person who used to be in charge of the FBI, shows shells in the shape of 8647. 86 is common restaurant lingo, of course, for denying service to somebody. But after about 30 seconds of Googling, you can see that a good chunk of people all around the world also associate 86 with meaning to kill somebody. An old mob saying, basically, you take somebody 8 miles outside of town and then you put them 6 feet in the ground. James Comey, again, a guy who has prosecuted mobsters, apparently had no idea that this was a thing. He deleted the original post with the cool shell formation, and he writes,
okay, I'm definitely getting marijuana smile vibes off of this story. Okay, I have given tours on the mob for over 10 years. As far as I know, I am the only New York tour guide who covers all three major mob groups of the 20th century, the Irish, the Jewish, and the Italian. I have never heard that in my life. No research I've ever done, no book I ever read, including mob wiretaps, did they use 86 in that way. If you notice, all of these hyper-realistic mob TV shows and movies where some of them, many of them used actual mobsters as consultants, The Sopranos, Goodfellas, they had actual guys who had been in the mob in the cast of The Sopranos. Do you ever hear them say 86, this guy? Did you ever hear that? You heard whacked. We're going to whack this guy, which is a real mob term. Do you ever hear anybody actually? No, I'm not going to tell you. No mobster ever used a term that means to get rid of something that way. Like, I'm not going to tell you it never happened, but that is not a common understanding of that phrase. And this 8 miles out of town and 6 feet deep, this sounds like just total bullshit that in a game of telephone, one person said it and everybody else copied it, because I tried to run down where they got this from. And you have different sources that say this, none of them with attribution, none of them with any proof, none of them linked to anything that actually shows that that's true. I have no idea whose ass that came out of, but I'm calling shenanigans on that. Now, some slang dictionaries will claim that this is a mob term, not the 8x6 thing, but just to use it that way, which again, I'm not going to deny that anybody ever used it that way. I think I can say with some authority, it's not common. If you look at any normal dictionary, that's not even listed as one of the meanings. It is normally understood as eject or bar someone from a restaurant or bar. They were accused of cheating and 86th from their famous casino. To reject, discard, or cancel, the passwords will be 86th by next October. I think this is the way most people would understand it. Now, one of the really horrifying things about the social media age is how quickly they are able to convince huge numbers of people who had no knowledge of this 24 hours ago that they always knew. It's very Orwellian. They always knew 86 had that meaning. I promise you, most of the rank and file repeating this talking point would not have had that opinion 48 hours ago. 48 hours ago, if you asked them, what does 86 mean? They would have said to get rid of something, right? Now, everybody knows that's a mob term, because they told them everybody knows now.
Well, as tour guides, we know where it actually originated, which we'll get to. Yeah.
Which we will get to. I mean, it was the same thing we had people coming at us in the comments on the Abrego Garcia thing. You guys, you don't know the street lingo. You don't know the street. Yeah, like you've ever left your mom's basement long enough to pick up street lingo.
Well, 86, that was one of my favorite tour guide stories to tell. So yeah, we know this very well.
Yes. So this is Christy Nome, brain trust that she is. Disgraced former FBI director James Comey just called for the assassination of Trump. DHS, no, that's not like hysterical at all. DHS and Secret Service is investigating this threat and will respond appropriately. Apparently not. Crazy Eyes Kash Patel there. We are aware of the recent tweet by former FBI Director James Comey directed at President Trump. We are in communication with the Secret Service and Director Karan. Primary jurisdiction is with SS on these matters, Secret Service, and we, the FBI, will provide all necessary support. So James Comey is currently being investigated for that tweet by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. So here's Cruella de Vil, who a lot of people told us was going to clean up the intelligence services. Here she is commenting on this and very, she's adding a measured, reasonable, civil libertarian take to the conversation. Thank God she was confirmed. I'm so glad we got her in there.
Who issued direct threats against the President of the United States, essentially issuing a call to assassinate him, must be held accountable under the law.
Do you believe Comey should be in jail?
I do. Any other person with a position of influence that he has, people who take very seriously what a guy of his stature, his experience, and what the propaganda media has built him up to be, I'm very concerned for the president's life. We've already seen assassination attempts. I'm very concerned for his life. And James Comey, in my view, should be held accountable and put behind bars for this.
All that kowtowing to the dear leader has aged her 10 years and 3 months. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable that somebody who literally commanded a PSYOP unit doesn't have any ethics or principles and is willing to say anything, as apparently she is. She is second only to Pam Bondi in her dear leadering to Trump's every whim. So here's Trump's comment on it.
Exactly what that meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination. And it says it loud and clear. Now, he wasn't very competent, but he was competent enough to know what that meant. And he did it for a reason, and he was hit so hard. Because people like me, and they like what's happening with our country. Our country has become respected again, and all this. And he's calling for the assassination of the president.
Obviously, he apologized and said he doesn't.
Well, he
wasn't
apologized because he was
violence.
Here.
But
look, he's a very bad.
What do you want to see happen? What do you want to see happen?
I don't want to take a position on it because that's going to be up to Pam and all of the great people. But I will say this: I think it's a terrible thing. And when you add his history to that. If he had a clean history, he doesn't. He's a dirty cop. He's a dirty cop. And if he had a clean history, I could understand if there was a leniency. But I'm going to let them make that decision.
There are 57 people who made millions of dollars off my pump and dump scheme. They like me very much.
Yes.
They like me, but they were very upset. They called me as soon as they saw this because they know I'm going to do another pump and dump in a couple of months. They want to get in on that. So Comey, after seeing the false outrage, put this out. I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. Now, me and Keaton, we talked about this a little earlier, so maybe you want to speak to this. Yeah, I mean, obviously, they're being really disingenuous and very willfully misinterpreting this to get maximum outrage out of it. The whole thing strikes me as very woke, the way that they'll put the most batshit interpretation on anything someone they perceive as a political or ideological enemy says, even though clearly they know better. But should he have tweeted that? Probably not. So, Keaton, you want to address that?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you are the sort of face of the deep state plot against Trump,
right?
And you have a following of people who can at times be hysterical in their hostility to the president. Like, don't forget the guy who shot Steve Scalise on the baseball field. He was a big Maddow guy. Like, you know, Comey is a public figure who attracts that same audience. And yes, some of these people are fucking nuts. And so if it has any connotation, fun fact, by the way, there were 86 episodes of The Sopranos, and some people think that's a kind of hidden message.
Is that true?
Yeah, there were. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it does have a certain connotation in certain circles. That's not the meaning of the word. When I think about that word, that's not what comes to my mind. It's, oh, we're out of mayonnaise, 86 the mayonnaise, take it off the menu, right? Like, that's what I mean. But I would say, hold on one second, but I would say that, yeah, I mean, I don't think you ever want to, if you're a public figure like that, especially given the context, if you are the face of this, you know, like I said, deep state resistance against Trump, you probably don't want to touch that. So I think it was an ill-advised tweet. Now, if you are see, here's the thing about being a civil libertarian. When you're a civil libertarian, you end up defending a lot of people who you don't like and who you don't agree with, because the principle of free speech trumps whatever dislike you have for this person. So while I don't think it was a good thing to post, there is a massive distance between saying you should not have posted that, that was probably an irresponsible thing to post, and you belong in a cage for having posted it.
Yes.
Like, there's a huge difference there. And you can't get to a point where you're saying, because that was irresponsible, you should be in jail. Like, you have to establish a criminal intent, and I don't think you can establish any criminal intent here. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to suggest that he consciously was making a call to violence. I don't think Comey would do that, frankly. I think he knows that anything he posts that suggests violence is going to bring the wrath of hell upon his head, because he knows he's on Trump's shit list. So why would you do, like, it just doesn't, there's no case here, by the way. Like, there's just no case here. And maybe Comey belongs in jail for other reasons, for lying about Russiagate, for sabotaging the president, for undermining confidence in an election. Maybe there's proof of ill will. Go prosecute him for that. It's very dangerous to get to a point where you're saying, because this guy's probably guilty of other things, we're going to lock him up for this thing.
We're going to lock him up for this.
That's a point of no return. That's you're crossing a line there that you can't uncross. And at a certain point, the only way this descent into fascism stops is if one side decides, you know what, principle is more important than partisanship. When Kilmar Abrego Garcia was denied his due process, what do we have? All these MAGA people. Well, did the January 6th people get their due process? I said, no, not. First of all, they did get more than he got. Number one, yes. But I would not concede. I made the point on January 7th, 2021, the day after, that wasn't what it was being perceived to be, and that the people here are going to be railroaded by the justice system and made an example of very unfairly. And I would defend them, and I would defend Kilmar Abrego Garcia's due process, just like I would defend James Comey if I believe that he is being singled out unfairly, because it's not about the person. It's about the principle. You cannot get to a point where you are saying, because I don't like this person and they're probably guilty of something else, that means we're going to twist reality into saying they're guilty of this. This was a stupid thing to post, given who he is, given the context of who he is. It was not a criminal act, in my opinion.
No. And yeah, we're certainly, anyone who went through the hell of Bernie 2016 aside from Russiagate, is no James Comey fan because he should have put Hillary Clinton under indictment. And he clearly did not, because he did not want to run afoul of the interests she represented. She was clearly guilty. He came out and said she was guilty, but chose to frame it as irresponsible. Right. You know, I mean, well, she did it, right? So she's guilty. She's mishandled classified information in a much more egregious way than keeping files in the garage. So yeah, no, I mean, we're not fans of James Comey, but this is clearly bullshit. And he is actually being investigated for sending, I think, like honeypots into the Trump campaign. Fair enough.
Hey, if you can nail him on something he did, fine. Like they're investigating Letitia James for mortgage fraud. If she's guilty of mortgage fraud, book her for mortgage fraud. Fine. But you don't want to get to a point where you're saying because we think this person is a bad actor, we're just going to gin up a charge.
Well, of course.
Something.
Of course. Yeah. And this is obviously ginned up because Comey, and I agree with you, like, hey, man, give it a little think before you tweet.
Of course. Yeah.
You're James Comey. You don't really want to put that out.
Don't touch that. Yeah.
You know these guys have it in for you.
Yeah.
You know, certainly you should have seen this coming.
Yeah.
But there was a precedent for using this phrase in a political context regarding Joe Biden by opponents of Joe Biden. So you could see why he would have thought it's still ill-advised. It's still stupid. He should have thought 3 times before tweeting. But you could see why he thought everybody understands it this way, because it was already being used that way in another context. So, you know, some people are saying, and this is speaking to the danger of you say, once you open this door, they should go after Gretchen Whitmer. This is for Trump's first term. She had in the background 8645.
Right.
Geraldo Rivera, every now and then he jumps into these things and takes the counter position. 8647 is not a death threat. Murder is probably the last thing on the author's mind. 86 may signify we're all out of a certain item or no more drinks for this guy. He's 86, done, over, cut off. Reading homicidal intent to hurt a president is a paranoid stretch. Well, yes, of course. Here's Jack Posobiec, who's been on board with this whole thing back in 2022. 8646. 86. Joe Biden. Was he calling for Joe Biden's assassination? I don't think so, but I guess we have to get the Secret Service over to Jack Posobiec's house. Here's Matt Gaetz. We've now 86'd McCarthy, McDaniel, McDonnell. Better days are ahead for the Republican Party. Last I heard, they're all still alive.
Yeah.
So clearly he did not mean that they killed them. He meant they got rid of them.
Got rid of them, removed them. Is this the world you want to live in, where people can be thrown in jail for shit posting? Because if that's the world you want to live in, we all, not just on the creator side, but on the audience side, need to find new hobbies. Because you're not going to be able to talk online anymore if this is the direction you want to go. And power does change hands. This is what's so short-sighted about this. Your tweets are up here talking about 86 McCarthy, McDaniel, McConnell, Biden. So what do you think? What, you think the Democrats aren't going to escalate? The Democrats just passed a bill in Colorado criminalizing misgendering. What, you don't think they're going to escalate when they get in? And then what, you're going to escalate again? This is a downward spiral into hell. That's what this is. And the only way it stops is for one side to say, you know what, it's got to stop with us because the principle is more important. Living in a free society is more important. You can't be constantly fucking itching to lock someone in jail. That is not a desirable environment to live in for anybody.
Think about how much you enjoy misgendering.
Yeah, right.
You want that to go away?
Exactly, yeah.
You want that to all go away?
Exactly.
Come on. They're still selling on Amazon 8646, you know, just for MAGA people who haven't heard about the election. 8646, still on there. It's still for sale on Amazon. Should they investigate Amazon? Should they investigate the storefront that's selling this? Somehow I don't think they're going to do that.
No, 86
Somehow
means
I don't
prostate
think they're going to
cancer.
do that. Yeah. Okay, so getting to this favorite New York tour guide story.
Yes.
All right.
This is the real meaning of it.
The real meaning of 86. So this is the inside of Chumley's. Chumley's was a speakeasy back in the 20s. It was a very popular bar with writers, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, Kerouac, all hung out there. So if you look along the walls, you'll see book jackets. It became a tradition for a lot of the authors who hung out there to give a book cover of their book and sign it. So you had all these autographed book covers. Sadly, it did not survive COVID, and that was after it had already almost died. But a restaurateur came in and saved it, but COVID was the last straw and it went under. But okay, so when I first started going to Chumley's in the 90s, you still went in the old way, which was through the courtyard of the apartment building that it's in the bottom floor of. Now, that was how you went in during Prohibition. Now you don't anymore. If I know how the village has changed, the new snotty residents probably complained about the noise. There's too much noise from people coming and going in the courtyard, so they locked it up. You don't go in that way anymore. But back in those days, you went in that way, but they didn't want to draw attention to that entrance if there was a scuffle or if you got kicked out. So they didn't kick you out the way you came in. If you got thrown out of Chumley's, you got kicked out this door, which is 86 Bedford.
Yep.
That is where to get 86th in all likelihood comes from. There are other explanations. They do not seem very credible to me. This is probably where to get 86th comes from. So from the beginning, the idea of getting 86th was to be gotten rid of, to be thrown out.
Or
it was never.
Sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to.
It never meant to kill somebody.
Right.
And then it primarily got adopted into restaurant and bar slang for an item no longer on the menu. Or a person getting thrown out. It never stopped having that meaning for bars and restaurants. That's generally where you would hear that phrase.
Right. It was a speakeasy too. So if the cops raided the place, sometimes the bartender would yell 86 it, meaning run out that door.
Right.
Right. And so
Cheese it, fellas, it's the cops.
Yes, 86 it, the cops are here. Right, exactly. I loved telling that story as a tour guide. That's why this struck me when I saw that Comey was in trouble for this. Because that was one of the rare stories as a tour guide. When you're a tour guide, you spend a lot of time looking at the faces of your tour guests. And almost always their face reads, why did we think this was going to be fun? Why didn't we just go to the bar? What do we spend? $40 on this tour? We could have gotten 5 margaritas for that. Why did we do this? That's the look on their face most of the time. This story always killed because people love finding out the secret origin of a phrase they always use. So whenever I would tell this story, their eyes would light up. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Because I would tell it in a very clever way that set up the punchline of 86. And it would always kill. So I love telling this story. So this is one of the very few tour guide stories I'll remember for the rest of my life because I just loved doing it.
Right.
And that's clearly where it came from. Obviously, 86 Bedford Street. What are the odds? What do you think?
Right. Exactly.
So obviously that's where it came from. It does not mean what Cash Patel or whoever says it means. Take it from 2 licensed New York City tour guides. And we don't even like James Comey. Take it from us.
Man, he knows all that mob lingo.
Exactly.
He's really down with the mobsters. So the Krasensteins decided to troll.
These fucking clowns. See, this is stupid. You should not don't troll with this shit, fellas in the audience. Don't push it with these fucking people. You don't want it. This is jackassery here. What they did. Because they're a couple of jackasses. They are. They always have.
Yeah. So Ed Krasenstein did this, and Brian Krasenstein did this, and the Outlaw Patriot. I mean, it's just a confederacy of clowns. Comey and the Krasenstein should be investigated. So they're trolling, and the Secret Service took them up on their troll and actually showed up and questioned at least one of them.
Moments ago, the Trump administration just had the U.S. Secret Service come to my house. You might be wondering why. Because yesterday I made a post that said 8647, which means, if you look it up, get rid of Trump, as in impeach Donald Trump, as in 25th Amendment Donald Trump, as in vote Trump out of office. Why, you may ask? Because last night on the news, Donald Trump made the claim that 8647 means assassinate him, which it doesn't. I would absolutely never ever call for violence against anyone, let alone the President of the United States. So the Secret Service agents were extremely friendly. They were like, yeah, we understand. It's just something we have to do because Washington told us to. Washington told them to come give me a visit. That's what he said. Trump wants to be a dictator, and I will not be intimidated into not voicing my opinions or my dissent against him, ever. When Biden was president, multiple large social media accounts on the right used the term 8646, meaning get rid of Biden. But now they want to create this new meaning in order to go after people who disagree with them. We're not going to become a dictatorship. Keep fighting back in a non-violent way.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they are jackasses. He's right on the principle. Of course, they're pretending to not understand what this actually means. They know their legion of half-bright morons are going to repeat anything they're told. I mean, I've seen it already. And as I said, people who had no thoughts about the meaning of 48 hours ago are experts in all of the various underworld meanings of this phrase. And that's it. The whole point is to manufacture consent for a police state. That's what this is. I mean, to Keaton's point, is this the world you want to live in? Because you do it to them, they can do it to you. Oh, and you know those libs love their speech codes. They love their speech codes. Can you imagine what they're going to do when they get back into power now that you open this door?
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're not even going to be able to properly gender people. You're going to have to call everyone a they, them.
Yeah, right, exactly.
They're going to make it illegal to he, him, anybody.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think it is smart. Like you don't want to troll in that way on this. Like you just don't want to go there because this is the danger of doing this. And this is, when you talk about the Luigi Mangione thing, the whole internet had their fun with that. But I remember watching Jordan cover that, and every once in a while he would just make a point that, if this does set a trend or set a standard, the backlash to that from the state is going to be so draconian and so fascistic that it's just going to crush people even further. So You really don't want to antagonize and troll when the issue is violence and violent rhetoric. These guys are clout chasers. They're trolls. They always have been. And I think that's why they sent the Secret Service to their house, because they wanted to send the message, oh, you want to be a wise guy? It's not so funny now. And so I don't think it's smart. I don't think it was smart for Comey to send the tweet. I don't think it was smart for these guys to be jackasses and troll in that respect. People don't have a sense of humor about this, especially given the attempts on Trump's life. And so, I don't think it's advisable to go there. Now, there's a huge space between is it advisable to go there and is it a crime? Again, with Comey, I don't think he did it as a troll. I think he meant it as get rid of him nonviolently, remove Trump, defeat Trump. This guy's trolling. Did he mean it as a threat? No, of course not. I don't think so. But you don't want to pour salt in that wound. This is not a place you want to go because the response that you invite is going to be just, you are daring them to escalate, and they will escalate.
Right.
When you
battles.
When you pick your battles, right? Because if you pick the wrong battles, they get stronger and they get more totalitarian, right? You want to pick battles that put them back on their heels, like the Alien Enemies Act, which now the courts are shutting down and the people are overwhelmingly siding with the courts. Those are the battles you want to pick. You don't want to tease and troll and poke at violent threat. You don't want to go there. Do not go there. That my advice to everyone watching: to don't be a troll. Don't think you're the smartest kid in school, because they will fucking come after you. These people are not fucking around. And Tulsi Gabbard is an absolute fucking disgrace. What a disgrace. this civil libertarian talking about free speech coming up there saying he belongs behind bars for this. What an absolute piece of worthless fucking garbage. That being said, I have no doubt if she is the next president of the United States, you will see 6948 trending far and wide on social media. No doubt about that. People like them some Tulsi Gabbard, especially the chuds. So there you go. That's my take on that. Hey, thanks for watching our video. We're currently raising money to produce our documentary film on the Uhuru movement. Go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents to chip in.
Every dollar you give goes towards the project. We do not take any kind of salary on these. We mostly live on Gatorade when we're on the road, so even solid food is iffy, just enough to get by. But we do not take any pay for this. Every dollar actually goes into what we need to shoot the project. The Uhuru movement is a subject that really deserves more exposure. Everybody heard about it through the court case, and that was an important thing to elevate. But they've done incredible community work demonstrating a different way that is socialist and not dependent on the government at the same time, which a lot of people don't even realize that still exists in the tradition of the Black Panther food and education programs. And to show there is such a strong community like that with such strong leadership is really important, particularly at this historical moment.
Yeah, so we're really excited about doing the project, but we need your help. So go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents to chip in. Thanks very much for your support.
Please clap.